Hi everyone, I'm Stephen and welcome to Audio Nautica. I'm filming in the garage today, don't usually film down here, so it's a bit noisy, but I'm working on a project with wood, which I also don't do very often either. So the plan is to build a set of speaker stands for my JBL speakers, and I've already built one, so I'm going to show you me building the second one. Hopefully I'll make less mistakes. I learned a few things on the first one, but this is the general idea. I have seen some stands out there that are specifically made for JBLs and they look pretty impressive, but they are really expensive. And just the way that they're built is way beyond my ability. So this design, I mean, it's what we did when we were kids with matchsticks, isn't it? So it's really quite simple, but I've already built one of these. I'm quite happy with it, and it will serve its purpose of getting the speakers up off the ground, and once it's under the speaker it looks okay. And this isn't exactly how it will be, but you get the kind of idea. I've got the ends poking out over the edges just to make it a little bit more interesting. And so these are just pieces of timber. I had lengths of this timber. What I've done is I've worked out the diameters of the rectangle, so the X and Y dimensions of the rectangle, and then I allowed for just bringing in the ends of each one, I think by about 1 centimetre or so. So anyway, the first step is to have your pieces of wood, work out how many layers you're going to have. I think I'd initially thought I was going to have 2, but then I decided 3 would be better, and this works out pretty well. Work out the amount of timber you need and then cut it to length. So you could easily do that with a handsaw. I did it with a miter saw, but pretty easy to do with a handsaw. So then the next step is to work out where the holes need to go and drill the holes. So what I did is I worked out the first one. So there's 2 things. Obviously you need the center. So the center is just going to be that dimension divided by 2. Get the center, mark it with a pencil, then work out where the hole needs to be in this dimension, and that'll be determined by the thickness of the wood. So it should be half the thickness of the wood, then allowing for the extra rebate that you want this to hang out over. So then you mark that position with your pencil and you drill that. So what I did is then, having that, to save me having to mark and measure all these bits of timber, I have this piece of scrap timber here, and what I did is I put it onto my piece of drilled timber like so, and then I drilled through the other way to create this hole that you can see here. So this now gives me a drilling jig. So all I've got to do, every piece of timber, is I've just got to hold this on here like so, on the corner, and if I drill through there, that then gives me the location for every hole. So I got all my pieces of timber. I need to now dive in and get these drilled. So let's do that. Okay, so all my pieces of wood now have got hole locations marked, so I know where I've got to put the holes. Now, the idea is my bolts are going to go through like so, but the idea is that they're going to be recessed. So the very top and bottom holes will need to allow for the recess, but these longer ones that go in the middle, they do not need that. So we can just drill these ones straight out now. There we go. So that was a 8.5mm drill. These are 8mm bolts. So it just gives me a little bit of extra clearance. Got this special little cool built bit here, which is called a spade bit. And this is going to do the recess for me for the heads of these. This needs to be done first. Don't ask me how I know. But trust me, it does, which will become evident in a second as to why. I'm just going to keep using this guy until the battery dies because it's just a bit easier than using the other one. One. Two, so that way. I'll go that way. One, last one. Tell you what, this is a whole lot easier than it was the first time I did this. Hopefully it might even make it easier for you guys too if you want to do this. Okay, so now what we need to do, so we've got our recesses done, but we don't have any holes here. So we now need some holes. And the reason why I had to do this first is because you can see that this spade bit, it uses this point to locate itself. So if I'd already drilled a hole for this, which I had when I did the first ones, it becomes really difficult to do this. So that's why we do that now. the reason for that is this iron is just so soft that the drill just bites right into it. Should be right now. Yep, it's right dimension. It's going to need a bit of cleanup, but it's all right. Okay, so that should be all our pieces of wood drilled now. So I just need to give these a little bit of a dress up, just to deal with all the loose bits of timber that are going to stop me from getting the mounting hardware in there properly. You don't need to see me doing that, so once I've done that, I'll come back to you. Sometimes just a little persuasion is necessary. Oh, I'm not sure why it's needing quite that much persuasion. Probably this is the advantage of a drill press, I think, which I do not have a drill press, is making sure that the holes are actually straight. Alright, those are all tightened up now. It's a little bit trickier than I thought it would be. Right, so the next little trick is I want some feet in this thing. Now, you might think that the sensible thing to do, and maybe it is the sensible thing to do, is to put the feet on the bottom, but I'm not actually going to do that. Well, I am sort of, but I'm actually going to put the whole thing upside down. So because you'll notice that these are actually standing just a little bit proud. Now, it wouldn't matter because it's on carpet, but they are standing a little bit proud. But normally you'd probably say that this would be the bottom anyway, but I'm actually going to run it this way up, and I'm actually going to put the feet in here, and I'm going to set the speakers on these feet. Okay, so what that actually means is that here, this will be where the speaker is effectively isolated from the stand. So rather than the speaker sitting on the stand and the feet being on the bottom, effectively all of this wood being the speakers sitting directly on this bit of wood. They won't be sitting on this bit of wood, they'll be sitting on these feet. So let's just give this a bit of a go. So I've got these knock-in M8 inserts, which go in here. I have to do it on the bench. That ain't gonna work. Like so. That's the idea. Just making sure I had the hole size correct there. So now I've got my N8 screw-in feet. And so there we are, that is the feet in. So this is basically built, but it needs to be painted. So here is my stand, nicely spray painted. I painted it grey because my speakers are grey. But if you wanted to, you could stain and varnish this and it would look much nicer than this. But as I say, I've done this to match the colour of my speakers. So now we just need to get this thing underneath the speaker. Okay, and there we are, guys. These stands are underneath the speakers, finally. So this is something that I've been working towards wanting to do for really years now, to get these humongous JBL speakers up off the floor. And finally, my homebrew solution. It's not pretty, but hey, neither are the speakers, and it's going to work pretty well. It might be a little tip for you too if you're wanting to build your own cost-effective stands for large speakers. So I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, you might like to consider giving me a like and subscribing to my channel. And I really look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye for now.